Welcome back to the Rise Today Inspirational Podcast. We hope you liked our little dance party. We always start off the show with some fun music. Wow, what a day it has been. Hearing Lindsay Clark's journey in her recovery from her alcohol addiction and the enlightenment that Dr. Gabor Mate has just shared with us all. I hope you've truly found inspiration from these shows today. If you didn't catch the lives, you can go back. They are posted, and we will post all of these shows, as always, on Apple and all of your streaming platforms. So thank you for being with us here today. And today, I am here to introduce you to the young Hawaiian surfer, Carter Parry. Yes, welcome to the show, Carter.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. So everyone, you're just going to be amazed by Carter's story and by his pursuits and by his amazing resilience. So let me tell you a little bit about him. Carter is on a fierce mission to surf again and to show the world the amazing possibilities that can be conquered through hard work, dedication, and on his recovery. Carter presented to the hospital last December holiday season of 2019 with seemingly cold symptoms and ended up facing a superbug, lost one lung, had a below the knee amputation as a result. And on top of which, 6 months later, then faced COVID. Carter just started to walk again in November, and he is just conquering this rehab amazingly well. He shared his story with People magazine, and we are so honored that he is here. Carter is the perfect example of what we're here to do with the Rise Today Inspirational Podcast, of really opening up the conversation about hardship and really sharing tools as to how we can rise above and even thrive through our adversities, and seeing them as not so much challenges, but really an opportunity to transform in that journey. And so, Carter, we just are so humbled that you are here with us today.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited to share kind of my fun 2020 with everybody.
Right? Gosh. So take us back. So you get back. I understand you were traveling home to Hawaii. You present with some cold symptoms. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I was just visiting my family for the holidays back in Cleveland, Ohio. And I ended up feeling a little bit of flu symptoms kind of on New Year's night. And there's tons of fireworks going off in Hawaii. It's pretty crazy with they really like to celebrate. There's tons of illegal fireworks that go off shooting from everybody's house.
Oh, wow.
So there's big explosions going off around my apartment, and it starts at like 6 p.m., goes until maybe 2 in the morning. And I just assume that the headaches and the sore throat are caused from all this, the smoke and the loud noises going around. So turns out that wasn't the case. Day or two later, I start to progress more into flu-like feelings, and I didn't think it was anything to be write home about. I mean, I've had the flu before, but this progressed into kind of like delirium at some point, so I just ended up becoming bedbound. My friend was visiting from Japan at the time, so I was pretty disappointed I couldn't host him properly. And I remember one night, I believe it was January 3rd, I coughed up a little bit of blood, a very small amount, but, it was kind of delirious, so I didn't think much of it. But we obviously decided to go to the hospital first thing in the morning.
Of course.
Following morning comes, and I have trouble even standing in the elevator. I have to sit. So we know that I'm pretty shot at this point, but everyone's just thinking I probably need fluids or something, get through a pretty nasty bug. My brother ends up driving me to the local hospital, and I remember him checking me in. And that's the last thing I recall. I wake up like 2 weeks later, and my sister's by my side, and I just can't understand how she possibly flew all the way there in a few hours from Ohio. But, it turns out weeks have passed.
Gosh. And so you wake up. Tell me about that moment. Like, obviously, it probably took you a bit to get your bearings. How did you feel in that moment? What was going through you emotion-wise?
I remember being very discombobulated, mostly because I had like very vivid dreams, and it didn't feel like a dream because I was falling asleep and then waking up in the same world over and over again. I remember like it was 5-6 consecutive days in these places wherever I was. And the very last one was I was in this infinite white space in all directions. I was present. I knew where I was, but like I couldn't make anything of it, and I figured I'm dead. I like this is it. This is how am I supposed to entertain myself in this liminal white space for the end of time? And I just remember making a lot of like mouth sounds, like pops, and trying to pass the time. And that was my last like vivid memory. I wrote it down as soon as I was able to, just so I could recall these things. But so I think I was just feeling pretty good that I'm present in this world still, and that's all I could really make of it at the time, I'd say.
And so you ended up having, from what I understand, you had both pneumonia and the flu, and then this transferred to a superbug. This let a superbug develop, and that soared through your whole body. Is this correct?
Yeah. So I had influenza B, and then I ended up contracting staph infection. So MSSA, I believe, methicillin susceptible Staphylococcus aureus.
Yeah.
And that is, I possibly got from it surfing, because I went in the water, January 2nd. And there's a lot of staph is prevalent in Hawaii's waters and most water sources that are near riverbeds or river mouths or anything. But it could be anything. It could be when they intubated me at the smaller hospital or whatever. But that combination ended up just destroying my organs. My heart was operating at 2% capacity. My kidneys failed, so I went into dialysis. And my lungs stopped working. I went to ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome, and the whole shebang. I mean, my dad's a surgeon, and he's there through this whole time. And I mean, he knows I'm pretty much dead. I really shouldn't be here today. And if I were to become conscious, there's no way I was going to be here mentally. I was just off oxygen for such a long time. Wow. I think I don't have any mental impairments. So far, so good.
Oh, you seem pretty sharp to me, my friend. What an example, though. And I always propel this message that none of us, right? None of us know what tomorrow will bring. We just don't have a clue of what tomorrow has in store. What a shining example. This healthy, hardy, fit surfer, 23-year-old is then so quickly down to 2% heart function, in kidney failure, right? Like no one knows what tomorrow brings. So we all need to maximize today, no matter what we are all going through, no matter what our obstacles are, no matter what our adversities are. We all get the gift of today. And these awakenings really come in a profound way when you've experienced journeys like I have and like Carter has, but try to get this wake-up call before experiencing this journey, because the gift of today is truly a gift and it is truly magical. So we all need to own it. And Carter's going to help teach us those lessons of how he's done this. Even through adversity, we can find joy. We can find happiness. We can find a sense of well-being, even in the thick of it. And so, Carter, now I understand you've endured over 30 surgeries as a result.
Yeah, so prior to 2020, I've had one surgery in my life, and that was my wisdom teeth. So yeah, about 35, 36 now up until today's date, but I just had my last major surgery, hopefully, 3 weeks ago, where they closed the big chest wound I had in my back, which they took the lung out from, because if you closed it up right away, that site would just become infected because you have this big empty warm hole in your body. So for the past 6 months, I've been living with a hole about like this big going into my lung cavity. You could see my heartbeat from inside my chest.
Wow.
It was very abnormal, and it made bathing rather challenging. But
I bet. Gosh, and so you've come to lose a lung. You've come to lose your lower right leg. Is that correct? Through the below the knee amputation, it was your right leg?
Yes, my below the knee on the right leg, and I had to have my whole left foot rebuilt with my thigh, and a transmetatarsal amputation. So a little bit of the toes were removed up into about half my foot.
And I understand that had this happened even a year before, that this procedure on the left foot, right, was saved because of medical technology that's only come out recently. And
somewhat, yeah. The foot was just a very interesting surgery that probably didn't have a high success rate. Flaps like that are very challenging to have successfully bind to the foot, because you're connecting not only the skin, but the nerve, the fascia, the fat, everything is connected. The doctors knew everything was good when during one of my revision surgeries, all the hairs on the bottom of my foot, which, they came from my thigh, stood up. So the nerve was connected.
Wow.
But what was tricky with back in Hawaii, ECMO is what just recently came to their major hospital. ECMO's been around for about, I don't know, since the 80s for very young children or, premature babies, all that. But having a full ECMO cycle for an adult, which is basically taking your blood outside your body and cycling it through an oxygenation machine. So oxygenating your blood and then heating it and then putting it back in your body. It's called extracorporeal membrane oxygenation support, something along those lines.
Uh-huh.
And that is what really saved my life. If I had to be medevaced all the way to Seattle or something from Hawaii to get ECMO, I probably wouldn't have made it in time.
Wow. Wow. Such a story. So tell us, like, there must have been so many brutally hard days during this path. Take us back to one that stands out. And how did you cope through it? How are you here today with us with this smile on your face?
Well, a lot of it, I don't know where it comes from, but I've always been a glass half full kind of guy. I mean, I shouldn't have survived in the first place in the first 2 weeks. But I had a very good family support, friends, people reaching out to me. A lot of people were praying for me, just really, putting me in their minds. So I had a lot of support emotionally, which was huge. And then figuring out that I was going to be able to surf with a prosthetic leg potentially. I mean, I wasn't even thinking about the lung at this point. Really just gave me a goal to drive for. And since I'm so passionate about surfing, I think having something clear in your life that you want to achieve, if you can really drive all your energy and focus towards that, you can get through some of the most crazy tragedies in life. I mean, what I went through was nuts. And I before this, I wouldn't have expected to be able to come through it, as happy as I am. But, if you have these goals, it just changes the way you look at life. I mean, I'm honestly grateful that some of this stuff happened to me because, I mean, as you know, going through what you have, it changes your perspective and you can appreciate your life more.
100%. And I totally agree. Like, you have this fierce vision of surfing again, and you see yourself doing that. And that is what creates that success, right? So for me on my journey through a 2-month terminal prognosis, through a bone marrow transplant, through a double lung transplant, through all these seemingly insurmountable feats, my vision was seeing myself when I'm 80 years old, walking my future grandbabies down the Ambleside Seawall here in Vancouver, right? But we all have our visions of what we need to hold on to. And that's so important because when we can really connect with the feeling that vision brings us. So the feeling that surfing brings you, a feeling so alive, right? And awake and right present in that moment. And the same for me, right? Feeling so alive, walking with my little wiggle down the seawall, pushing my future grandbabies. Like, when we connect with that feeling and we really hold on to that, we can really, truly see, feel, and create our success. And I think that's a really powerful message to convey. Tell us, how are you doing today, Carter?
So today I am still, having a lot of trouble doing everything. Basically standing up and walking to my bedroom, which is, a few feet away, feels like I ran a mile or so. I mean, it's a full body workout, but when I'm feeling kind of upset that, oh man, this is so hard, and things are progressing so slowly, I have to think about 3-4 months ago. It took me 40 minutes to climb up the stairs just with my arms. Wow. And that experience was like having a heart attack. It was beyond being out of oxygen. Like, when you ran or you did some athletic activity and you're just so dead and out of breath, it went beyond this to almost like distress. My muscles are starting to shut down. I literally can't operate my body right now. And it was very hard to just deal with that on a daily basis for the smallest things. I could barely move. But through just going to rehab as much as I could and, small at home workouts, I've slowly progressed a bit to a point where I can now stand and walk and brush my teeth. And, I'm still heaving at doing that. I mean, right now I'm out of breath just speaking, but, they don't really know how much my single lung can recover, but I've heard of people and I've talked to people that have hiked to the top of every single mountain in each continent, like the peak of every tallest mountain in each continent with one lung. So if they can do that with one lung, I mean, there's no reason why, if I don't push myself, that I can't achieve at least some athletic pursuits that I want to do. So I just got to go every day and see what happens. Pave my
No,
own
I
way,
love
I
that.
guess.
I love that. And I hear you on how hard those days are. I remember when I was waiting for my lungs, and for totally different reasons, my lungs had declined, right? Having had rejection from a bone marrow transplant. And every day I lost more and more function on my path. And I lost my vision with the harsh steroids. I couldn't see, I couldn't read, I couldn't watch a movie, I couldn't drive. I felt as though I would lose capacity of all bodily function walking across my kitchen because I had no oxygen. Even with my oxygen tank, I just couldn't absorb it. And I remember those days were so hard to stay the course. And finding those simple moments of gratitude in each and every day is so important, but also being real, right, about how hard it is so important. So tell us, in your recovery so far, has your lung function improved now?
Significantly. I mean, it feels like it hasn't at all to me, because I'm coming off of, I was the most athletic I've been in my life when I got sick, which, you know, potentially saved my life. So work out, everybody. But just, I don't know. It's tricky to be in this position, not knowing if I've already hit that wall. But I'm going to start pulmonary rehab as soon as I return to Hawaii in about a month. And there's a lot of people on a forum that I found that are just, it's called One Lung People Unite on Facebook, and just tons of other people with a single lung. So I have a whole community that I can kind of reach out to and try to get advice. So, you know, my suggestion to anybody that's going through, you know, adversity of some sort is try to find just other people that are going through the same situation, having people to talk to that get it and, you know, understand your emotions really helps.
That's right. We can all feel so alone on our journeys, even though we're supported by so many family and friends. But unless we're really connecting with those who truly understand how hard it is and exactly what we're going through, we can still feel so alone. So being proactive about creating our tribes, right, and forming that community in whatever capacity that may be, but doing our, like, being our own advocate and researching what groups are available for us. And who would have thought there would have been so many groups for a one lung.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Like, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. I'm so proud of you. So tell us about your future pursuits and what you're doing. I know you're doing a video log. I know you're wanting to inspire others to rise and thrive through adversity. And I just love this.
Yeah. So, you know, another way getting through all this challenge is trying to look at all the positives that come from it. Because, you know, everything can have a positive, even if it's just changing your mindset or whatever. I try to look at this like, I mean, there's an adaptive surf team in Hawaii, and, you know, coming from Ohio and moving to Hawaii at 18, there's no way I'd be able to be competitive in the surfing sport when everyone starts at 2 or 3 years old. But now I'm this young guy that's been amputated at 23 years old. So, you know, the table's kind of flipped, and I'll be able to train and hopefully compete at a decent level if, you know, I put my mind to it. So I'd love to join the Hawaiian adaptive surf team if, you know, I can. And if not, there's Access Surf, which I can't wait to be a part of, which is just a whole group in Hawaii that helps disabled people or blind or mentally impaired people get out in the water and just have fun. So it'll be super great just to support that group. And potentially long term, you know, they're planning on bringing surfing to the Paralympics. So
amazing.
You know, if I just keep pushing myself, there's no reason why it can't be possible.
I'll be there cheering you on with my pom-pom.
Thank you.
No, I think that's great. And you're recording your recovery, right? And you're going to record when you're on that surfboard. You're recording all of this. And I think this is magical because, again, that shares so much with so many people who are also facing similar struggles or who are also feeling defeated, right? To keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I think that's really incredible. How can people find that video log?
Yeah, so that's easy. You just search Carter Parry, Parry, on YouTube, and the channel should come up. So the vlog is basically my brother and I are going to be shooting kind of this progression health vlog that will chronicle my journey from, you know, where I am now, barely able to brush my teeth without being out of breath, to, you know, getting back on a board and hopefully standing again. And I think it's exciting because I don't know if it's possible. It might not be possible, but I want people to see that you still got to try. If you want to achieve something, you got to know for yourself. So it's basically going to be, nothing's really hidden. I'm going to begin with just me walking, hopefully, luckily I have a scenic place to shoot, walking along the beaches of Hawaii, just
You
trying
do.
to get my lung condition and progress to, maybe treading water and near the ocean and maybe paddling on the board and then hopefully, getting back up on a board. So
I
we'll
remember
have to see.
I remember starting at similar stages, right? When I finally got out of the hospital and I would push myself to get out for walks. And I'll never forget crossing the street and seeing the curb ahead that I would have to step up
Yeah.
and over that curb. And I can't even begin to tell you the angst that I would feel every step getting closer and closer to that curb. Am I going to have the strength to stand up and propel myself onto this curb? I don't know. And it was so stressful. And I'd be standing there like staring at it for a couple seconds, and then I would try. And sometimes I would fail, right? But it's putting that one foot in front of the other, and it's brutally humbling, but it teaches, it teaches us so much. And for you to record that, to share that commonality of what we all go through in these recoveries and the emotions behind it and everything, I just think it's so powerful, Carter.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think it's a niche product and a niche story in a way. Like it's never, I tried to find it for myself, which is kind of what gave me the idea to do it. There's like, is there anybody that's been this sick and then, can, resume their normal life and like showcase that? And I'm sure there's been books or something written on the subject, but us millennials love our video media. So, I guess I can give it a try myself.
That's amazing. I'm so inspired. And, I have to tell our listeners, because I told you a little bit before, Carter, that I am introduced to guests that we host on the show from all over. Most I know personally from growing up or from here or from wherever. And I'm really inspired by their journeys. But Carter actually comes to us today from my 10-year-old son, who had come across Carter's story and was so inspired by Carter. And so this trickling effect of Carter sharing his story, the power that lies in stories, is so magical because he's inspired my 10-year-old son, and he's now here on this show as a result, inspiring countless people, right? And so I'm just so grateful. Thank you, Carter. Is there something that you could leave our audience with, like one amazing takeaway that they could use if they're waking up, right, in that point 2 weeks later, and they're trying to get their bearings, and the world that they know has been pulled out from underneath them? Help us give our listeners one amazing tip of advice that they can take heed to at that point.
Well, I think the most important thing is to live presently, of course. You can't really look that far into the future. You don't know what's going to happen. I certainly didn't expect to be incapacitated as much as I did. But just making those little steps every day, even if it's super small, it just accumulates into something amazing. It can be huge. You just need to put that small amount of effort in every single day, and you'll achieve what you're after.
Excellent. You're so right. Shifting that focus from the endpoint to the power of right here and right now and what we can do in a proactive way right now. It's powerful. And that's where the action and the wins come from. Beautiful.
Awesome.
Thank you, Carter. And thank you to all of our risers and thrivers who have joined us for all 3 shows today. We hope you found inspiration and, actionable change that you can take in your life to truly make today count, no matter what you are going through. We are here to open up the conversation about hardship and to serve as a friend and to share these tools that you too can rise and thrive through adversity. All the best. See you on the next show.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.